Not all romance novels are created equal. I've been reading romance novels for well over 10 years, and there have been stories that have stuck with me, and there have been stories that I've forgotten. There have been couples that I was deeply invested in and that I was very drawn to and close to and that are still with me. And then there have been couples who, once again, I have completely forgotten. Or worse than that, that I didn't think should have been together at all. Being a romance author myself, I have firsthand experience with creating these very engaging storylines and couples or a couple who really connects with the reader. And not only a couple that connects with the reader, but a relationship that is very engaging, that is very compelling, and most importantly, that is believable. And it's been that experience that really helped me develop the 7 elements of a romance novel, which I talked at length about in my video about how to write a romance novel. With experience in both reading and writing romance novels, I can not only tell you what my favorite romance novels are, but I can pinpoint precisely what makes them my favorite and what has put them a cut above the rest when it comes to romance. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing my top 7 romance novels, as well as sharing why I love them, right? What about them is so compelling and what about them makes me love them the most. Comment down below which of these books you love, which of them are on your TBR list, or which romance novels I've missed that you absolutely adore, because I would love to hear what you guys are reading. So in no particular order, let's go ahead and get started. My first favorite is actually a series. This is Thoughtless by S.C. Stevens. Folks, let me introduce you to my very first book boyfriend. The Thoughtless series is actually outside of my typical romance taste. If you've watched my video about captivating romance subgenres, you'll know that I typically like to read suspense and thriller romance or damaged goods romance. But the Thoughtless series is rockstar romance, and it is looking at the relationship between Kellen Kyle and Kira Allen. And their relationship actually starts in an incredibly sketchy way, okay? They have this steamy love affair, and Kira is cheating on her boyfriend basically and sleeping with Kellen. That in particular actually always surprised me, that I was so drawn to this series, because it is pretty, it's sketchy. It's sketchy how their relationship starts in the first place. And so it always sort of surprises me that, not necessarily that I liked the books, because I know why I like the books, that I continued reading the books in the first place, just because I could see myself saying, this is super sketch, I'm not reading this. So why does this series stand out in particular? First of all, Kellen and Kira have some of the best example, okay? They are the best example of best friend energy I think I've read at all, okay, ever. They're great together. Their chemistry is fantastic. They have this plethora of casual moments where they're just, chatting. They're having conversations. They're hanging out. They're doing stuff, like they're best friends. They are genuinely best friends. They talk. They laugh. They have jokes. They connect on a very personal level. While there is definitely that physical attraction, okay? Throughout the book, everything is all about how hot Kellen is, okay? Like, he's just this physical wonder. While that is prominent, what I have always been taken aback by is just that genuine connection, that wonderful natural chemistry, that natural friendship that Kellen and Kira have. It is incredibly easy to read. Whenever you read them together, it's smooth, it's effortless, it's seamless. Conversations are very, it's back and forth, it's very natural. Even though the relationship starts in a very wrong way, you can't help but see how fantastic these two people are together. And I think that's really why I stayed engaged with the story in the first place, is because, the first book, it really is a series of steamy love moments, okay? What you see a lot of in, right alongside those moments, is this genuine connection. I mean, like, there is just this beautiful chemistry, this spark between them that really clicks. And so even though there is this affair, there's also this natural connection and this like this magnetism that you feel between them, but that you feel to them. The second part of this, okay, right along the lines of the affair, a major thing that I like about the story is that the affair has never, I mean, it is never painted in a good light, okay? It is always seen as this is wrong, okay? While the affair is happening, Kellen and Kira are both like, this is wrong. We shouldn't be doing this. This is a really horrible thing to do. We shouldn't be doing this. Kira's like, I shouldn't be cheating on my boyfriend. Kellen's like, your boyfriend's my best friend. I shouldn't be sleeping with you, right? So there's never this moment during the affair where they're like, yep, since we're in love, it's okay. No, like, there is none of that. There's none of that. The entire time, there's this feeling of this is dirty and this is wrong. And then after the affair, okay, once the affair is over and they are a legitimate couple, you see consequences of the fact that they had an affair, okay? They don't trust each other because, I mean, both of them have seen each other at their worst, right? Kellen's like, I saw you cheat on your boyfriend. You cheated on your boyfriend with me. Are you gonna cheat on me now? Great question, right? Kellen, he's a man whore, and so Kira's like, I see you sleeping around, and are you doing that, right? I've seen you. I've seen this super sketchy side of you. And so they struggle with trust because of the affair, because of how they've seen each other, because of the light that they saw each other in. And so the affair is never, I mean, it is never painted in a good light. Before, during, after, never painted in a good light. And so because of these two elements, chemistry and consequence, the story feels very believable. Okay, even though it's rock star romance, right? Like, oh man, Kellen's a rock star. Even though that is what it is, it feels very believable. It's very natural. It's a very beautiful and it's a very easy relationship to read. And along those lines, the last element of it that I love so much is that these two are true partners, okay? The third book in particular, what you end up seeing is you get to see the two of them, like, embrace the fact that it's like, okay, we're together now, we trust each other, and we're ready to move forward, okay? And so you see this relationship where they've finally become true partners and they are sort of taking on the world, okay? And what you see is that they're asking for each other's opinion. They're asking for advice. They're saying, hey, what do you think about this? They encourage each other. When one of them is struggling, the other one steps in and is like, hey, I'm here for you, right? I love the fact that we see their trust really blossom. You know, you really get to see the evolution of the relationship. The sketchy beginning, the mistrusting middle, and then the true partnership at the end. You really get to see the maturity of the relationship. And that, to me, that is what really clicked with me. That is what really clicked with me, because 99% of the time, we only see romance relationships, you know, in romance novels, we only see the relationship under this fire and under this pressure and under the angst of, are they going to end up together? But we don't really get to see them when things are good. We don't really get to see them when the relationship is no longer the issue, and we don't get to see them when it's like, hey, we're good and we're handling and we're tackling these other things around us. But with this book, you really get to see their healthy relationship in action. In this series, the last book, you really get to see their healthy relationship in action, which I totally and 100% appreciate. The second book that I have to mention is Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. I really don't think that there's going to be a video that goes by that I do where I don't mention Colleen Hoover, because this woman is a magician. So I recently revisited Hopeless, which I believe I read for the first time in high school. And Hopeless is about Sky Ann Holder, aka Dean Holder. And what we see throughout the story and through this relationship is Sky's past is being revealed to her, okay? A past that she completely forgot about, that she sort of tucked away and blacked out of her mind because it was so bad. And with Holder's help, she begins to remember past abuse and the things that she endured that she really locked away and that she started protecting herself from at a very young age. Number one, okay, the number one thing I want to point out about Hopeless is that Holder is a decent human being, and you're going to see this throughout these books. My favorite books, my favorite romance novels, is that the MMCs are decent. They're good guys. They're guys that you would genuinely think, I'd be with this fella, right? In all of these stories, we will see, and we do see, MMCs who know how to treat people well. Especially the girl that they're supposedly falling in love with. And before you ask, no, I do not like Christian Grey. He's mean and he's domineering and I don't like him. And so we see an MMC here with Holder who knows how to treat Skye well. He knows how to be a decent human being. He shows up and he's kind, he's nice. They all have quirks and he has these grumpy little moments, but he's not nasty and he's not domineering and he's not trying to control and he's not like that, okay? For instance, Skye is realizing and remembering a lot of bad stuff that happened to her. That is the premise of the story, is that the further along we go, she's remembering more and more and more and more and more. Holder's response is not to rally the troops and beat somebody up and fix this bad situation, to fix an unfixable situation. No, his response is to be there for her. I know, mind-blowing, right? The truth is that there's nothing you can do about the past. There's nothing Holder can do about Skye's past. The past is done, and it's gone. It is only a memory now. It is only a wound that has reopened. So what Holder does is he shows up in an incredibly supportive, strong, and stable way. And he does that throughout the story, because I kid you not, the entire last third of the book is just this major, massive, churning plot twist where you're just realizing new pieces of information, like new information is coming in and things are being revealed and secrets are being uncovered and people are saying things, and then it's being proven that it's like, oh, what they said was not correct and that's not true. And I mean, it is just this massive plot twist and this massive realization. And so Holder does need to show up in a very strong, supportive, stable way. Guns blazing is not going to help Skye. Guns blazing is not going to help Skye. Showing up and being there, that's going to help Skye. And so what we see is he's being very intentional, and Skye is very intentional. There's intentionality between both of them. Yes, there is steaminess to their relationship. If there's no steaminess, if there's no steamy element, then it does get a little dull with a romance novel. And so there is a steamy element to this. But more than that, what you see is that they genuinely enjoy each other's company and they find stability in each other's company. There's this level of groundedness that comes from being with one another, especially while Skye is learning all of these horrific things that happen to her. Holder is solid. Holder isn't lying to me. Holder's telling the truth. Holder is ground zero, basically. And so he becomes this very supportive, stable person in her life, and she leans on that and he leans on her, and they become this unit. They become this partnership. And so it's really beautiful. And so steaminess in this instance, while it's there, it is not the foundation of the relationship. Steaminess is complementing a very intentional relationship and a relationship that really clicks, which I adore. My third favorites, it's a duo. It's a dynamic duo. This is Binding and Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. These are new to me this year. I'm not entirely sure when these were written, but they're new to me this year. As you know, I'm a lover of damaged goods romance, and these books tick every single box. In Binding and Keeping 13, we are looking at Johnny and Shannon's relationship. Shannon has an incredibly abusive home life, and she has a a history of horrific bullying at school. Meanwhile, Johnny is a golden boy. He's a couple years older than her, and he has career goals that he is already well on his way to achieve. The first thing I want to point out is that throughout the first book in particular, Johnny's having these conflicting feelings where he's thinking, I really like this girl and I like being around this girl, but I'm a little bit older than her and I have these goals, so I shouldn't be with this girl. So he's got these conflicting feelings. He does not make that an excuse to be an absolute prickhole to her. I have read so many romance novels with MMCs in there that it's like, oh, I shouldn't be with this girl, and so they're absolute douchebags to them. Dumb. That is legitimately stupid. No, Johnny, despite these feelings where he's thinking, I really shouldn't be with this girl, he is incredibly kind to Shannon, and he is incredibly protective of Shannon. In turn, because of that, Shannon naturally trusts Johnny. It's not like Johnny's out here being horrible to Shannon, and Shannon's thinking, oh yeah, I totally trust this guy with my life, and he's my best friend. The romance novels that do that, I don't believe. The moment that happens, I'm thinking, no, this is fake. I know it's fake, but this just confirms it's fake. No, Johnny gives Shannon a reason to trust him. He gives Shannon a reason to trust him. I'm gonna keep you safe, and I'm nice to you. I'm compassionate towards you. I'm soft towards you. I'm nice. I'm kind. Now, she isn't spilling her guts and telling him all of her darkest secrets about her horrible home life right off the bat, but she leans in. She talks to Johnny. She opens up to Johnny slowly. She trusts him. She finds herself gravitating towards him and relying on him in different ways. And so we see this beautiful relationship blossom where he's protective of her. She lets him protect her. They start to trust one another, and they give each other a reason to trust one another. They don't let each other down. I mean, I was shipping this relationship from page 1. I'll be honest. Shipping it from page 1. Secondly, I really, really, really like the fact that we do not have competing trauma here. Johnny has pressure. Johnny has stress. He does not have trauma. We're letting Shannon have the issues. We're letting Shannon have the trauma. We're letting Shannon have the spotlight when it comes to trauma and true pain, okay? Like abuse. And because Shannon's got the trauma, Johnny becomes a safe haven. When you're reading Johnny and Shannon, what you see is that because Johnny's life isn't bad, because Johnny's home life isn't bad, Johnny's life is good. Again, he's got stress and he's got pressure, but his life is good. And because of that, Shannon feels safe. Not only is Johnny good, but Johnny's life is good. And Shannon looks at his life and sees safety. This is a safe haven. Johnny's home is safe. Johnny's parents are safe. Johnny is safe. I am safe with Johnny. Typically, we have two situations when it comes to trauma and abuse. Option 1 is that it's the MMC who has the trauma and the abuse in the past. And because he's the one with the trauma, abuse in the past, he uses that as an excuse to be a buttwad. Makes total sense. Option number 2 is that they both have trauma. Neither of them have or are dealing with it. Healthy. With Johnny and Shannon, she's the one with the pain. And I'm not saying that MMCs shouldn't have trauma or that I don't like it when MMCs have trauma. I don't mind, but it has to be well written. And in this case, it is Shannon. It is the FMC with the trauma, not the MMC. And because she's got the trauma, she's going to choose to trust Johnny because he doesn't have trauma. He doesn't have this mess. He's safe. So she chooses to trust him, and he's worthy of it. He's worthy of it. He doesn't break his promises. He doesn't let her down. He helps her escape the pain. He helps her escape the abuse while simultaneously being very respectful of the fact that it's like, this girl's had a bad life. This girl's had a bad way. I need to be aware that she is damaged. She is hurt. I can't just, right? You can't domineer that kind of person. You can't consume that kind of person because, I mean, they're instantly just gonna crumble. And so he's very respectful of the fact that it's like, she's a hurt person. She's a very hurt person, and I'm gonna respect that, and I'm gonna respect her boundaries. Wow, what an idea. And so she's trusting him, but he also trusts her. Okay, he starts trusting her, and in turn, she's worthy of it. She's sticking up for him, she's sticking by him, she's supporting him, and she's encouraging him. I mean, honestly, this is a relationship between two teenagers that is more mature than most of the adult relationships I read. There's just this beautiful blend of mutual trust, natural connection, protectiveness, while also being respectful. And this is just a beautiful example of damaged goods. The fourth book that I want to talk about today is 7 Summers by Paige Toon. Now, this was my introduction to Paige Toon, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm always a little bit hesitant to try out new authors, but wow, expectations were exceeded. In 7 Summers, we're taken on a 7-year journey between Finn and Liv while they're basically trying to figure out whether or not they're going to end up together. Now, my main concern coming into this story was actually that it would be a little bit dull. There are some times when we have slow burn stories or these, oh, will they end up together stories that I think there's just something about it, something about the title, the branding, the description of the book. There's just something about the book that made me sort of think, like, is the highlight of this book going to be a porch swing? There are just some of those books where it's like the highlight of the story is a porch swing and it is incredibly dull and boring. No, that is not the case. I consider this to be a cozy romance, and there are no explicitly erotic scenes. What Paige knows how to do is she knows how to make you swoon. And I talked about this in my author video, where making somebody swoon, making a reader swoon, is actually incredibly difficult, and it is a very specific skill that romance authors, I think all romance authors, should work on and should develop in some capacity. Paige does it beautifully. With her, a lot of it is the small gestures which make a big impact. It's the moments between the MMC and the FMC that give you the warm and fuzzies. Paige knows how to write an FMC who grows, who improves, who matures without being nasty and catty. Can't stand nasty and catty FMCs. Sorry, just can't stand them. Paige also knows how to write an MMC who shows up and who's intentional without being a grumpy jerk face. And Paige writes tragedies while giving you a happily ever after. And 7 Summers is exactly that. 7 Summers is exactly that. There is a massive tragedy in 7 Summers that it left me in shreds. It was literally one of those moments where I went, and I never do that with a romance novel. I never do that with any book. I'm pretty hard to surprise when it comes to books and romance novels in particular. I'm pretty hard to surprise. But this book, it actually, made me gasp. And so you have this massive tragedy, but at the end of the story, what you actually end up with is 2 happily ever afters. 2. You get 2 of them. You're actually following 2 separate love stories that are sort of happening at the same time, but they're completely different. There isn't an affair, there isn't this there's none of that. There's nothing sketchy or untasteful. But you get these 2 different love stories. There's emotion, there's depth, and yes, there's plenty of swoon, tons of swoon. But by the end of it, what you understand is that these love stories, they had to exist together. In order to have one, you had to have the other. And I thought, this book was just so creative with the love story. That's what I loved about this. It was that it was very creative in how it got to the ultimate happily ever after. It was very creative and very innovative and very new on how it ended up there. And I read that and I finished the book and I thought, that was breathtaking. That was absolutely breathtaking. Where Colleen Hoover knows how to traumatize you and how to twist you up and have these massive reveals, Paige Toon knows how to write tragedy in the now. And she knows how to make you feel that tragedy. But by the end of the book, you're satisfied. You end up with a happily ever after. You end up with this is how it needed to be. This is how it needed to be. I mean, I feel like I'm not explaining myself well, but Paige Toon, holy cow. I mean, what a master and a creative innovator when it comes to romance. Absolutely gorgeous. The 5th book is Easy by Tamara Weber, and boy, this book is old, but my word, my heart. In fact, this story is quite simple. The story is very simple. So at the beginning, we have Jacqueline, who is being attacked and nearly assaulted at a frat party, and Lucas saves her. And throughout the story, as we get to know Lucas, as we get to know Jacqueline, Lucas is sort of this mystery that we're learning more and more about, and Jacqueline is on this healing journey because she's just recently broken up with her boyfriend. I mean, typical stuff. This is in the college setting, and so it's just this typical college feel about it, okay? The thing I love the most about this story is so insanely subtle and it's so simple. It is so freaking simple, but it is what I like about this story more than the back and forth and who is Lucas and all these mysteries. Like, more than any of that, this is what I love about this story. Lucas protects Jacqueline. I can hear you now. Ellison, MMCs are protecting FMCs all the time. Hear me out though. Most MMCs are dominating FMCs. They come out guns blazing. They're ready to, beat somebody up. They got their cronies of best bros who are out for blood, right? They come in and they boss people around. Very attractive. That was sarcasm. Or, on the flip side, there is a pretty prominent trend in the romance genre where FMCs are saving themselves and basically saying, I don't need an MMC. Controversial opinion, but at that point, why am I reading a romance novel? Lucas is different. Lucas is different than both of those things. Lucas being around is what protects Jacqueline. This is so subtle. This is so subtle, but very natural and very seamless, and it feels real. Listen, I'm a girl. Let's say I'm in a little bit of a sketchy situation. We'll say I'm in a room that I'm uncomfortable in. Okay, I'm in a room where I'm thinking, I'm a little uncomfortable. I'd sort of like to leave. I don't feel the safest. Not necessarily unsafe, but not the safest. In those situations, there are certain guys who, the moment they walk in the room, all they have to do is walk in the room, and I feel better. Lucas is that kind of guy. He puts the room at ease. Safe male presence is far more effective in giving you that impression and that feeling of safety and protection than the male presence that's giving, I'ma kill you kind of vibes. As a girl, I really don't want some guy to beat somebody up for me. I really don't want that. I want a guy who's gonna be there. I want a guy who is perhaps gonna get me out of the situation, not somebody who's gonna force me to stay in the situation while he beats people up. I want a guy who's gonna get me out of the situation. So yes, super simple. Lucas protects Jacqueline, but Lucas protects Jacqueline by being the guy who's hanging around. And delicious. And another book that has that same exact energy is Confess by Colleen Hoover. Confess looks at Owen and Auburn. And besides the fact that Owen names his cat after himself, love that originality, Owen is the guy who hangs around. He's walking Auburn home. He's showing up at the bar to make sure she's okay because she's wasted. He shows up. He's around. He's very subtle. He's very quiet. He's a moody artist, and we all know how I feel about moody artists. But Owen gives the feeling of, Owen's here, I'm safe. Owen's here, everything's fine. As per usual with Colleen, this story has a lot of truths and secrets and elements that are slowly being revealed to us that we don't know at the beginning. From the get-go of this story, we're thinking, what's happening? With Auburn, there's just this sense of there's something brewing here that I don't understand. She's keeping secrets from me. And so throughout the story, those things are being revealed to us. At the end of the day, when all all of the secrets are revealed, all we learn is that Auburn and Owen are actually incredibly decent human beings. What I also like about Confess is that Auburn doesn't stay the same. It sometimes feels like this unspoken rule in romance novels that the FMC doesn't need to grow, she doesn't need to improve, that she's perfect the way she is, and she is allowed to do whatever she wants, even if that is terrible and horrible and cruel to the MMC. Our FMCs can do no wrong. In Confess, Auburn doesn't really do anything wrong, but at the beginning of the story, what you see is that she's very closed off. She's going through a hard time. She is a hot mess. She is struggling. She's not in a good place. She's very broken at the beginning of the story. But by the end of the story, with Owen's help, I emphasize that because it is not belittling. It is not weak to need a guy's help. It's not weak for the FMC to need the MMC for some reason. That's not weak. With Owen's help, she's stronger, she's braver, and she starts to stand up for what she wants and what she wants out of her life. Owen is a safe person, and because he is a safe person, Auburn feels the permission to sort of unlock herself. There isn't really this major, massive, dramatic moment where Owen is saving Auburn. Owen is just safe, and that is noticeable because Auburn is surrounded by a lot of people who aren't safe, whether that is emotionally or physically. Auburn isn't surrounded by safe people, but Owen is safe by nature. And so because he is safe, that saves her. Because Owen is safe, Auburn is able to grow. Auburn is able to let down and grow. The last book, my 7th favorite book here, is Only Love Can Hurt Like This by Paige Toon. This is quaint. I said quaint, not boring. We're looking at Anders and Rin in this story. And what I love about this book is that we see a friendship blossom before we see anything else. There's definitely an attraction the entire time, but Anders in particular is sort of holding back. We, of course, by the end of the story, discover why he's holding back, and it's 100% understandable why he's holding back. With this story, Rin is on her own little healing journey, and she meets and befriends Anders and his brother Jonas while she is staying with her dad and stepmom in a small, quaint Indiana town. We see the attraction between Rin and Anders pretty much right off the bat, but there are several other elements of the chemistry that we see that is paired with that attraction, and that I actually think is far more powerful than the attraction itself. Firstly, they intrigue one another. I think intrigue is one of the most beautiful elements of attraction, whether it's fictional or in real life. When someone intrigues you, you are genuinely interested in them, and you want to know more about them, and you're curious about them, and you want to ask questions. Sure, someone might be physically attractive, or there might be this feeling of physical attraction, but I'm gonna be honest, some of the biggest attractions I've felt in my life had absolutely nothing to do with physical feelings. It had nothing to do with, oh, I find you hot, I find you physically attractive. It had everything to do with me feeling and being intrigued by their essence or their aura as a human being. And that's what we see between Rin and Anders. We only read from Rin's perspective, but it's sort of implied that Anders is feeling the same way. But from Rin's perspective, what we see is that she can't stop thinking about him. She goes places wondering if maybe he's going to be there, and she's sort of looking for him, and she's sort of preoccupied by him, but in a way that is just purely curious, in a way that is thinking, oh, I wonder if he's going to be there. I wonder what he's doing right now. Anders is written as, oh, he's attractive, but we don't linger there. We don't linger at, oh, he's a good-looking guy. Instead, it sort of feels like, oh, he's a good-looking guy. Perhaps in from Rin's perspective, he's a good-looking guy. We see Rin thinking, oh, he's good-looking, but where we really go, where we really get off to, and where we really linger and land is, he's interesting. He's a mystery to me. I wonder what he's doing right now. I wonder what he's up to. I wonder where he's at. Have you ever encountered somebody like that? Have you ever encountered a person, either one-on-one or from afar, where they just hit different, right? They just hit different. And it was more than just, oh man, they are so hot. Instead, it was like you looked at them and you thought, you are intriguing. I want to know you. I want to know you more. That is how Rin and Anders feel to me, okay? When I read them, I think these two are just incredibly intrigued by one another. And the second thing I like about these two, and it's super simple and it's super basic, but I like that they work on projects together. Rin has an idea and Anders is like, you know what, girl? I see you and I'm gonna make it happen. I love that. I think that that is just a beautiful depiction of masculinity and femininity really blending together. Because here's the thing, the feminine is going to create, it's going to be inspired, it's going to have a vision, and it's going to imagine, and it's going to, right? It's going to have these ideas. The masculine has the action. That's what the masculine brings to the table, is the action and how we're going to get from point A to point B. Femininity is just out here doing this in between point A and point B. Masculinity is going to get you there. Not to mention the masculine just wants to make the feminine happy. I mean, masculine genuinely just wants the feminine to be happy. And that's exactly what we see between Anders and Rin in this book. And so once again, Paige Toon just nails this whole swoon factor. And she nails this very natural attraction, this magnetism once again, where it doesn't feel like, OMG, they are so hot. I mean, that is so shallow, it's not even funny. But instead, we see this person is interesting. This person is genuinely interesting to me. And they might be super basic. There might not be anything that is traditionally interesting. There might not be anything about them that is unimaginably off the wall and crazy and wild. They might just be an average person, but they're intriguing to you. Anders is very intriguing to Rin, and we can see that Rin is intriguing to Anders. Anders is constantly like, hey, I want to hang out with you and I want to know more about you and I want to learn about you. And so what we see with this is that intrigue, and I just absolutely I eat that up. I eat intrigue up way more than I eat up that physical attraction. So those are my 7 top favorite romance novels. Which of these have you read? Which of these do you absolutely love and adore? I would love to hear which of these are you going to add to your TBR list, because let me tell you, honey, you have got to read these books. These are incredible. They're incredible. Again, all of these novels, all of these romances, what we see is we see a relationship that grows. We see an FMC that grows. We see an MMC that grows. We see growth. We see growth individually. We see growth together. We see chemistry. We see genuine love and compassion. We see trust. We see compatibility. There is none of this toxic, oh, I'm gonna, fill in the blank. There's none of this domineering, this dominance, or this nastiness, or this, back and forth, or the worst, miscommunication trope. I mean, can we please just put that one to bed? That is the dumbest trope I've ever read. But what we see are people who are genuinely good to one another. What we see are people who are good together. What we see are people who help one another and who love each other in a very heartfelt, compassionate, loving way. And that is what makes a person swoon. That is what makes a person feel connected. That's what draws people in. That's what makes people trust you. It's never those moments where you're on fire and you're flaming and you're this fiery, sparking wildfire, right? What makes people trust you, what makes people trust a romance relationship, is when there's just this element of safety, when there's this element of protection, when there's this element of you're not gonna let me down. And even when somebody does, in these stories, if somebody does let the other one down, they're gonna fix it. They're gonna make up for it. They are gonna ask for forgiveness, and then they're gonna prove themselves worthy of trust again. And so I love these stories. I love these stories because, first and foremost, these are relationships that should genuinely be happening. These are relationships that should genuinely, actually, for real, be happening. These are not the relationships that we read where you finish the book and you think, I don't think they should have ended up together. I think that they should have broken up and chapter 2 because they got together in chapter 1 and I didn't think that they were good in chapter 1. When you are thinking run girl run the entire time, they probably shouldn't be together. And you probably noticed that these books, most of them were written by authors that I genuinely love and adore. So if you haven't watched that video yet, you should definitely check that out, where I am talking about my favorite authors and what makes them so captivating, so compelling, and just makes them a go-to author.